VOD have you started? We've got the Shanghai Dragons against the Seoul Dynasty. I thought this would be an extremely close match, but Shanghai Dragons actually blew this out of the water. So we are going to go into why that happened, and how the Shanghai Dragons were so dominant in this game. We've got interesting lineups for both teams right now, right? Let's have them roll out real quick. See if they're staying on the Symmetra. They're probably not. Spoiler. Okay, so both teams are swapping over to the McCree. So it's a Mirror X matchup, except for Shanghai Dragons have the Sigma, and the Seoul Dynasty have the Diva. Which, the Diva is pretty interesting, right? Where the Sigma is more stationary, does a little bit more poke damage, has another shield, right? The Diva can punish flanks more often. So because there is no Diva on the Shanghai Dragons, Fitch specifically should be able to get in more flanks, but the front line from, or the raw damage from Shanghai Dragons should be a little bit higher. They've also got the Baptiste instead of the Anna, which just add to that idea of poke, right? Baptiste does more shield damage than the Anna, but Anna's cooldowns are very high impact. The Anna grenade is super high impact, and the Nano boost I would also say is a better ult than the Baptiste ult. It's just that Baptiste has that drone and he does a lot of shield damage. So it's already stylistic differences, right? Where the Dragons are going for more of a, hey, we're just gonna spam your shield. If you don't do anything, we're just gonna win slowly. While Seoul is like, we've got a more all-in comp, so if we can run over the enemy Reinhardt or the enemy backline, possibly even, we are going to win. So let's go ahead and watch this first fight. I've not watched this match earlier today, but that's why this is all the more exciting that you guys can watch this for the first time with me. And yeah, let's start. Okay. So Seoul is much more aggressive to take the high ground. They actually had a pretty interesting walkout, and their Mei was there first. And if your Mei gets there first, he gets the first wall, and that screws up the enemy team, right? And now Fearless and Late Jagon should have to drop, and Seoul should have a positional advantage here. Let's see how Prophet was actually able to get there so much earlier than... Oh, they walked out the right side? And they TP'd right side. Okay, so this is really interesting. Normally, teams would TP from main to right side and then walk around, I guess. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This is a lot faster. Because the TP is so long right here. So, really smart TP play. And as you can see, Seoul, because of the smart TP play from them, they're going to be faster than the Shanghai Dragons. And that makes their Mei get the wall first. Big deal. So yeah, they are gonna probably push Fearless off the high ground here. They are. Wall, of course, has been nerfed. You can now walk through with fatty characters like the Sigma. Oh, Prophet gets booped. He's okay. And as I said before, if these fights go really long, this Sigma pick in particular from Void is going to do a ton of work, right? So Seoul getting that high ground is good, but then now they have to drop, which is very bad for them. That Sigma can get high ground. Marvel is... Oh, they actually were able to pick up Void, who got booped. Let's see how that happened. They boop Void with a nice boop from Marvel. I think. Wait, further back. Void's on the high ground right now. Yeah, Marvel boops him off. And also tries to get attention. Oh, and Fitz is on the flank. And this is what I said, right? If you're not running that Diva on the Dragon side, instead running the Sigma, then Fitz gets to flank for free because there's nobody to contest him. And so Seoul Dynasty is going to win this first fight. Oh, Marvel's actually died, so it's a 1-for-1. Oh, and Lip ends up picking Fitz. Hey, Alec. Okay, so Fitz was on the flank, decides to kind of rotate back to his team, and because Shanghai kind of got this high ground control, because they had to like go on Void, right? Lip ends up getting a pick on Fitz. Some nice headshots. So yeah, Seoul get that initial high ground advantage. They do a really good job at that. But then they get pressured off the high ground. They all drop. Seoul kind of flips the switch on them. Even though Void dies, it's a 1-for-1. Oh, now the Nano on Gesture comes out too, but this is very bad. Because the Nano is actually a really good ult. They basically already lost that fight. And now they're going to have to retake with a massive ult disadvantage. Even though Fearless dies here. That's not a big deal because he's going to come back a lot faster. Like if Seoul was in control of point there, that would have been great, right? But because they were not, now if you look at the ultimates, you see that only Void isn't even close. But the rest of Dragons basically have ult, except for Lee Jae gone. And then Dynasty really only have the Shatter. Not looking too hot here for this retake for the Dynasty. Also because retaking into the Sigma comp is very hard, right? Everybody's just going to stand on the high ground. Sigma can use his shield on high ground. And then Fearless can just drop. And then they're still covered with the shield on the high ground for someone like Lip or Izayaki, you know? So it's going to be really hard unless Seoul Dynasty can get a boop on the high ground. It's a hard retake for them. And as I said before, Shanghai can just play really, really slow because they have more poke. They have more shield damage, right? High Noon comes out. The wall comes out on the Baptiste ult, but Lip's able to kind of dodge it. Okay, so everybody from the Shanghai Dragons did drop. They got significant health pools from the Dynasty, right? But they are now on the low ground. It's not looking great for the Seoul Dynasty by any stretch of the situation, like the imagination. Fearless also blocks the Shatter really nicely from Gesture. And then Lip picks up Fitz again. Oh. So yeah, Seoul try to int with their Shatter. And what Shanghai does really smartly, right, is they're not stacked up. Because they've got that Sigma, they have the access to the off angle, right? So they're playing here and over here. And the Seoul push in like that. And then they go for the flank, right, with Lip and Void. Who can then get juicy access to that Seoul backline. So very, very smart movement and positioning here from Dragons, but it's also such a hard retake. Nice block there. And yeah, once you pick the enemy McCree, you're up in health pools. Oh, and Fearless. What's Gesture on his back? Now, probably what ends up happening a lot for Gesture here is because there's so much shield damage on these Shanghai dragons, his shield's just gonna break, and then Fearless gonna get free shatters, right? So it's not even that up to gesture. It's just that he might not have had shield for the shatter, right? Oh, he had 260, so he could have theoretically blocked it. But he starts fire striking, I think, and then Fearless goes in for his shatter. Oh yeah, he fire strikes. And for Reinhardt mains, if the enemy team has shatter and you fire strike, they are able to shatter you in that fire strike animation. So generally you want to avoid fire striking when the enemy Rein has shatter against good Reinhardts. Oh, good wall there, but at this point the fight's really over. So a good hold there from the dragons, and they didn't use their major ultimates. They only used the High Noon, which pretty disposable in my opinion. It's an okay ultimate. They used the Baptiste ult, which you want to use almost every single fight, and they want to have, like, they use Shatter, right, which is a pretty good ult, but it's not as good as like Mei ult or Sigma ult or Lee Jae-gon ult. But Dynasty's also going to come back in with some decent ultimates, right? They have the beat, they have the Mei ult, they have the Nana boost. And generally what is hard on this map, right, is that chokes are everywhere. You've got choke here, choke there, choke here, choke there, choke there, choke there. So a lot of chokes that you have to go through as the kind of attacking team here. That's the wrong team. Attacking team here. To like go through this choke, right? So what teams will do on these retakes, because Mei is such a good character, and if you just all 6 walk through one choke, you'll get walled off, right? Right. So let's say your Reinhardt walks through here, everybody tries to walk behind him. Some people are going to get walled off. So generally what you'll see happen is you'll see 2 or 3 people go through here, then 2 or 3 people go through here, and then both converge on point. So there's not as big of a deal, right, when that wall comes out. So Seoul Dynasty actually did 5 people on this side, and then their diva went here. So interesting there. Maybe they could have split a little bit more, but it's hard, right? Because they don't have that Sigma shield for one of these sides. So they get Sigma ulted heavily from a Void. Really good Sigma ult from him. Probably the beat is going to have to come out, but before the beat even comes out, Fitz is already dead, and Fitz has been getting slapped so far this match. Especially by Lip, because Lip's getting those off angles on him. Oh. Lip kills more people. Lip's popping off, dude. Let's go and watch his POV in that fight real quick. So he deals with Marvel, who goes on his flex support. Nice shots onto him. Oh, wait, we're too far. We've gone too deep in the sauce. We need to go back. Oh, he's already killed Fitz at this point. GG. Okay, so yeah, big Sigma ult because the split wasn't really there. Fitz ults. Gets Sigma ulted. He shoots. Everything goes into the Rein shield. Oh, and the Toby beat kind of comes out a little too late. high noons. Dude, this high ground's so OP. And yeah, then the fight's a cleanup. Oh. Wait, they're over chasing. Wait, so Shanghai cleans up. They're now going into the spawn with 3 people. And they still have 2 people on the high ground. And Void is dead right now. So they're just trying to get cleanup kills. Oh. But they kind of int. The int happened. They were in such good control of the point there too. They tried to get those cleanup kills, so Seoul didn't get one more fight. But they overextended just a little bit. Oh, Lip gets another kill. Okay, and Seoul is going to retake this point, but it's not because of their great plays. It's because Fearless, Fleta, and Lee Jae-gon kind of messed up, went too deep when they were only 3 people. Okay, so a super hard engage from Seoul, right? This is what they have to do because, as we talked about, they have less poke than the enemy team. The Sigma and the Baptiste provide so much poke that Dynasty has to take the hard engages, which is what they do greatly here. Good nano boost onto Gesture as well. So I think this engage is really smart from Seoul. Gesture is going to end up dying, but not before the whole team from Seoul is dead. And that was a good attack. Or like defense, I guess. Now they're gonna have to keep having to do the same thing, right? Because let's say dragons can flip side, they can get the high ground, then they're screwed again, just like we saw before. If Lip and Void can take this high ground, it's going to be very hard for Seoul to win that. But if they can get that 6v6 brawl, their comp is favored, you know? So both teams have strengths and weaknesses in their comp. Bits is hiding. Bits is a sneaky. He stuns 5. The Diva Bomb comes in. Good wall there, actually. Doesn't catch Fitch, though, I think. Oh, it doesn't? Okay. Prophet ends up dying, though, because he tries to go for the wall. Now it's a 1-for-1. Fitz ults. Oh. Fearless' Shatter is the one that gets blocked this time, not Gesture's one. Okay. Oh, Fitz dies. Wait, how does Fitz die? They still have so much healing up too. Oh, he just gets randomly rocked? What the hell? And then he doesn't get any healing. Badosin misses a shot. Badosin misses another shot. Badosin throws the nade. It's too late. Oh no. Somebody heal Fitz. Fitz is crying. Oh wait. He didn't miss a shot. Oh, he missed the second shot. But Marvel ate the first shot. So it's not all on Badosin. Oh. Gesture Shatter gets blocked again by Fearless and Void. Mostly Fearless. And now, as I've said before, the Shanghai Dragons have the high ground. And once this Kree and then Sigma later on get the high ground, a fight becomes really hard to win. Also, both DPS from the Dragons are dead. Yeah, that's rough. If Fitz get the one heal there, they're still in a 5v5. And not having your main healer, I think, is a bigger deal than not having your Mei. Because no healing without Baptiste is a massive deal, right? Continue. But yeah, since it's 99, it's probably going to be the last fight. And they cannot even touch anymore. That is map 1. So you kind of see this difference in styles where dragons have, if they have the control, they have so much poke damage that it's really hard for Jester to get close and get swinging. But if the Dynasty are in control, Jester should, or the Dynasty as a whole, should have more brawl power than the dragons should. Okay, Cordy says Gesture got manhandled. Gives us some Matt Mercel stats. We stand Matt Mercel. How Shanghai rolled Seoul. Forced Marvel onto Diva. I think Marvel forced himself onto Diva here. They could have mirrored the Sigma. Overwhelmed Bedosin. What? They didn't overwhelm Bedosin. Or this first map they didn't. But there's 5 more maps. Fearless Nanas. Okay. Well, we'll judge if this is all accurate at the end of it. But this fight is so random. You see the painter in his Dosin throwing. That's crazy. I mean, the first shot he couldn't have hit because Marvel was right in the healing range. What he said? Poor Fitz. Yeah, poor Fitz. What's worse is positioning, just ulting in the front line or failing shots. Okay, that's why you're paid. This is a legitimate question. Okay. I think that ult was actually pretty good for Seoul Dynasty. It's just that he gets booped into the middle of the team. We can go back in Adiosk. But that ult from Fitz was great. He just got booped by Lee Jae Gon, I think, to not be like in good position anymore to get like a good ult off, right? I think he starts ulting in a pretty good spot actually. Yeah, see, ult's right here. Gesture's going to go shield him, but then he gets booped by Lee Jae Gon, which puts him out in the open. And then Gesture moves to go and shield that initial Fitz ult position. But since he just got booped, he's now out in the open, you know? And since we all see it in .25, it looks dumb, right? But that boop kind of screwed Gesture and Fitz's communication up. Map 2, we've got the Shanghai Dragons and the Seoul Dynasty playing mirror comps, right? And generally, these comps are very strong on particularly this map because there is so much high ground to abuse for the Winston and the Diva. And these are also huge maps. Like, these maps are so massive that it's very, very hard for, let's say, a Rhine comp, which we see most of the time, right, to rotate into the enemy backline. Let's say your Rhine comp starts here. The enemy backline starts here, right? You start rotating your Rhine comp. You're a little bit faster. But as you get here, the enemy team's already rotating the high ground, you know? And during all that time, the Sombra can farm you for EMP. And she can get the orb and the armor. So the Sombra gets EMP very quick. So I definitely don't think it's unplayable to play the Reinhardt on a map like this. I just think if you want to play dive on a map, then this is the map to play dive, even though Tracer is banned this week, right? Is Soldier like a low-cost Tracer with midi pulse? No, Soldier's way different. Soldier is picked for the counter dive. Assuming what happens in scrims is that dive is played a lot on this map, and Soldier is there to protect the Zenyatta and the Brigitte with his healing field, and rotate with them, right? there's also not that many alternatives to Soldier. We've seen Chengdu, for example, pull out the Genji, but it's just not as good as the Soldier, right? It has a different win condition, but Soldier's just really good at peeling on a map like this, and Soldier's also pretty good at punishing Winston, right? You could pick the Kree for kind of the same purpose, but Kree doesn't peel as well because he doesn't have that healing field for the Zenyatta and the Brig. So what you'll see happen very often is that Winston jumps in, or Hammond, right? If you are the Chengdu Hunters, he jumps in onto your Zenyatta. Zenyatta gets the armor pack from the Brig and the AoE healing from the Brig. But sometimes that's not enough, and that's where the healing field also comes in. And then you have so much healing per second on the Zenyatta that he's literally immortal to the dive. So the Soldier is mostly for the anti-dive. Ashe is an option, but Ashe is not very good at not being dived. Okay, but we have both teams on mirror comps here. We see a change in styles already. Seoul Dynasty is prioritizing the high ground over here, right? While the Shanghai Dragons are kind of giving it up to start rotating to backside of point or their main. Okay. And this is what you'll often see end up happening on this map, right? You see two teams splitting the pillar. This pillar is a massive POV block on the point. And then a tank fight will start out, or one team will get a pick, right? Or one team will dive in. It's just that this point is so big that oftentimes it takes very long to cap this point. So you need great setups, right? So both teams are looking to set up their backline first, and then look to take space. You know, you can't take space without your backline being set up because there's so little healing for tanks on both these comps. You've got the Briggs and Yada on both sides, right? And these healers both have in common that they have very little healing. Like Zenyatta doesn't do that much healing, neither does the Brig, and it's all single target. And they're much better at healing flankers over long ranges than they are healing tanks, right? So your tanks can't take too much damage, which is why you see them take space very slowly instead of like jumping forward to try and get space. And that's also why you'll see the Sombra try to make the big space grabs happen, since they are much easier to support for this support line for either team. Okay, so Fearless's bubble is forced out by the hack. That's really good because Winston bubble has a very long cooldown. And often because both these teams know, hey, the enemy team support line doesn't have much healing, let's just focus their tanks, because that's a weakness on the healing side. That's exactly what you see happen for Seoul so far. They are poking out Fearless. Marvel's poked out on the other side, though. And as you can see, the Shanghai Dragons are already much more stacked and using their AoE healing to heal up their tanks from the Brig and the Soldier, while the Shanghai Dragons are kind of all over the place. Isn't it better to play fast and try to one-shot people when you have little healing in your team comp? See, they may have little healing on both sides, but it's a lot of healing, for example, a Soldier or a Zenyatta, you know? Because they have a lot of good heal. Like, they have the Soldier healing field on both sides. They have the Zenyatta orb, and they have the Brigade armor packs. So if you stack all of those on one person, they're not going to die very quick, especially because of the Brig armor. They're not going to die very fast. So that's why you see both teams play slow and fight tanks, because they are the ones that are hard to heal. These flankers aren't hard to heal. And generally, if you're going to dive or play fast, you want to play fast on the enemy backline, not the enemy front line. So yes, let's go back here a little bit and see what the Shanghai Dragons do so well. I think that the Seoul Dynasty are a little too split right now. Marvel ends up going very low. Prophet ends up heal fielding for himself, right? While Lee Jae-gon over here is giving AoE healing to his team. Fleta also puts down his heal field for Fearless. So there's a lot more resources going into Fearless right now than there is into Gesture. Because the Brig's all the way back over here. He's not healing Gesture with her AoE healing. And Prophet healing field also does nothing for Gesture. So the Dragons just kind of have this really good setup where they're trying to, even though they have low healing for tanks, still, you know, give their AoE healing resources to Fearless here. And that's why the Dynasty tanks are so low right now. But the Dragons tanks are really high HP. They also boop down Prophet. And yeah, Gesture ends up dying because all this AoE healing went into Fearless. And both Winston's had already used their bubble, right? So they're very vulnerable. And Lee Jae-gon is kind of frontlining as the Brig, while Toby's not doing that much. So yeah, great fight for Shanghai. Even though Dynasty kind of got control, you know, like they got this side of the point while Dragons just had this little area. Because of the Brig AoE healing that Lee Jae-gon was able to put out, they just had more healing put out, you know. Toby was a little too far back, wasn't able to do as much as Lee Jae-gon with that AoE healing, and they were just able to win the fight off that. And if you look at the Brig ult percentages right now, Lee Jae-gon has so much ult percentage. Also, why is my thingy so opaque? Wait, okay, there we go. That's a lot better. Continue. Okay, let's see here. And again, this is a really rough point to retake. This is like one of the hardest points in the game to retake because as I went over earlier, it's a massive point. It's a very easy point for backlines to rotate away from enemy front lines. And there's a lot of LOS on the point. So if Seoul Dynasty walks in on the point over here, all Shanghai really has to do is just sit over here and wait for them to get pushed, right? And then their LOS gains backline because they now have to do nothing because they're in control of point. They've also got the rally already, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just go aggressive with that because that's an insane ult. But yeah, we'll see how this happens. But Shanghai Dragons should get high percentage on this point before it's even able to get retook because this is like one of the hardest coughs to retake in the game. You see Lip is already farming more EMP too. He's already at 95%. Shanghai Dragons in general just have an ult advantage over here. And they're already able to force out the Winston bubble. And this is something I'll keep going over, but Winston bubble in a dive mirror is like one of the most, if not the most important cooldown. Because if you don't have Winston bubble and you have so little healing, like I've been talking about earlier with this support line, you can't really set up any dives. Like you just have to sit there, wait for another Winston bubble, and then you can finally dive. But it's going to be really hard for Gesture to set up dives without the Winston bubble. Because he's going to get shot midair while he's jumping in, right? So when he lands, he needs that safety from the bubble. And generally what you'll end up doing when you dive, right, is You'll dive with both your Diva and your Winston. That's the very principle of Overwatch dives, right? If Diva and Winston go together, you can Matrix the Winston in at the start of the dive, so when you travel up to the high ground in this situation. And then when you land, you can use the Winston bubble for extra safety, and Winston bubble actually has 700 health. So you get there and you start zapping with full HP. But if you don't have that Winston bubble and you land and there's no Diva Matrix, you're just going to get shredded by that Zenyatta Discord orb. There's nothing you can really do. So Gesture now kind of has to wait and sit around. And he can't take damage because, again, there's low healing. Lips looks like he wants to EMP here. Yes. Gets the Zenyatta. Gets 5 people, actually. Really good EMP from him. And that's going to initiate the dive here for the Dragons. So, yeah, great setup. And, again, it's just so hard for Seoul because they are the ones that kind of have to engage. But if they walk up and the point, is that open on either side and just get shot in the face, it's hard to dive, especially without ult advantage. Fearless ends up ulting and Prophet dodges cars, but they're just going to end up dying. A nice EMP there, even though they don't insta kill Badosian with the EMP. Even just focusing tanks with it is already enough. And they actually end up only using the EMP as well, which is massive, right? Let's say they use like EMP and Rally. Actually, they also end up using the Winston ult. But that's not as big of an ult as, for example, Rally. And winning that fight with only 2 ults instead of, like, let's say, using 3 or 4 ults is big because now, even in the next fight, Dynasty won't have a massive ult advantage on them, and if they can use their Rally onto Izayaki before the EMP comes out, he's still going to have armor through the EMP, right? Because the EMP removes the shield from him. Okay, but this time, Seoul makes a different rotation. They decide to dive from this mini room. This is a pretty common dive because you put your backline in a fairly safe spot. Counter to this is obviously just rotate with your backline. So what you see happen is Gesture jumps in. He gets booped by a very nice boop from Lee Jae-gon. This is exactly what you need and want to do as the Brigade. You want to boop the Winston mid-air while he's jumping. So let's take a quick dot 25 on that one. Right, so Fitz goes up, Gesture jumps in, Marvel's gonna follow up, right? This is a great dive setup. Izayaki and Fleta already ready to rotate away. Lee Jae-gon bumps midair, and then they jump out. So good rotate there. Nice punish onto Gesture's jump. Seoul now have the high ground, which is good, right? But as long as Shanghai play on the point, they'll get percentage, and they're almost at 99% here. Okay. Fearless jumps up. Oh, the EMP comes out, forfeits, but Lee Jae-gon and Izayaki are actually both able to get their ults off before it goes off. So that's really good reaction speed from them to kind of counter that EMP, right? And this has been a tale as old as time where if you EMP, and especially with the EMP cast time nerf, the EMP kind of gets stopped by the trance. Let us continue here. What were we talking? Oh yeah, we were talking about how with the Sombra EMP, if the enemy team Zenyatta has the reaction speed right, like an Overwatch League Zenyatta should, especially with the Sombra nerf, you can transcendence the EMP And Fitz here just kind of goes for it. And because I guess Shanghai has so much percentage, they just kind of want to try and win this fight really quickly. But Izuyaki's too good. He instantly trances the EMP, and that ruins the Dynasty's plan of just to engage on top of the support line, right? Because you already see Gesture jumping in, but he's now jumping into a trancing Zenyatta. BJ gone. Also got his rally off right beforehand. Fitz's translocator got destroyed, or he used his translocator in. Let's watch that real quick. Ooh, so Fitz's translocator actually gets destroyed, and they call that out. So it gets destroyed by Lip. So nice job by him. And this is something that I've seen more and more in this Sombra matchup, right? Especially in Asia, where if the enemy team Sombra has some downtime, he's going to be looking for that translocator constantly. And if you don't put it in like the perfect spot where he can't see it, you destroy it, the Sombra uncloaks, and then you kill her. Or the other way around, right? The Sombra uncloaks, then you destroy it, and then you kill her because she has no way out. Good fight again, and really forced engage for Seoul, really. Like, I would rather see them push the enemy team outside of point, right? Maybe like walk up to here, force this, poke out tanks, make the enemy team come back into you, right? And then go for the EMP instead of forcing the EMP in a tight area and then trying to dive into it. Good transcendence from Izuyaki though. Now, as you can see, this backline is basically unkillable for the Dragons in a small area like this, especially with Fitz already dead. They have the AoE healing from the Brig, the Zenyatta Orb healing, the Soldier AoE healing, right? So it's going to be very hard to kill just with Jester and Marvel, because Prophet can't dive, right? He's not a dive character. Tracer's banned this meta, so there's not as much damage on the backline. Yeah. And then Bedosin has the Transcendence now. Doesn't get too much done with that. And Fitz is already dead, so this is looking pretty bad for Seoul. They were able to cap the point though. Diva Bomb comes out from Marvel. Doesn't get anything. And he dies. Wait a second. Okay, so he sees the Zenyatta. He wants to bomb that. And then the Zenyatta's already rotating away. So nice rotation from the Dragons. But also late reaction to not see that from Seoul. But Dosin also ends up dying at the back end of this. Oh. Yeah, but Dosin just dies inside to Lip, who's been doing an incredible job this match. He's been playing really, really well. Last map he kind of carried as well. And Dragons are just going to clean up. Wow. Oh, it's not over yet, but probably going to be over soon. Oop. Yaki ends up dying, but at the end of the day, this is just clean up for Shanghai. They really should not be able to lose after this. Void also ends up dying. And really, on these King of the Hill maps specifically, winning that first fight is so important. And you saw Shanghai Dragons win both those first fights. And I really think what kind of set that apart, especially in that map 2, is the Brig play from Lee Jae-gon. He was massively aggressive. Nobody punished him. And he was able to heal a lot more than Toby did, in my opinion. So maybe Seoul could have punished Lee Jae-gon more, or Toby could have been a little more aggressive. But good maps so far. Dragons is playing a Pharah defense comp, which is interesting, right? We haven't seen that much Pharah this week, especially because the Mei and Kree are available, and so is the Diva, right? So Pharah is generally too slow. But what this brings to my mind is that Marvel here, was a main tank player that started playing Sigma and then kind of transitioned to off tank for Dynasty. So maybe this is a set strategy by the Dragons where, if they can't counter Dynasty, then they can always just swap the Pharah and the Mercy. It's only 2 swaps per second point, not too big of a deal, right? So it's not like they're swapping up the whole team composition. They can just swap to the Lucio and the Mei to go back to a meta comp. So pretty smart. And then Dynasty are playing that specific spam comp that Shanghai Dragons just played on Oasis Gardens, right? Where they are wanting to spam into the attack, but Dragons are playing the Pharah now, and Pharah does more spam than a Mei does, right? Specifically against kind of teams that have to bunch up, and you by extension have to bunch up because you have Lucio. So Marvel's going to likely have to swap to the Diva, and Bedosin's going to have to swap to the Ana. And this comp from Dynasty should beat the comp from Dragons, right? But they probably don't want Marvel on the Diva because he was that Sigma player, and I guess also the Orisa player. But yeah. Okay, so Dynasty is going to make a rotation, maybe to point. Going to go either all the way around like that, or you're going to stop somewhere and run into the Reinhardt. Normally, I really like rotations like this, right? But there's also a Reinhardt right in front of them. So we'll see what they're gonna do, right? Yeah, the Reinhardt's swinging into them, and the wall wasn't perfect, so the Reinhardt was just able to swing. They're able to get fits on the rotation, which is horrible, right? And Fearless actually gets 70%. What? Wait a minute. How's he able to get 70%? Okay, so first he fire strikes, gets 40%. Then he also swings fits. Swings again. And then gets booped. Wow. That's crazy. That should not be. I think if the Rhine is that close, you actually either need a perfect wall or you can't go for that rotation. And this wall is obviously to block the enemy Mei from walling the Seoul off, right? They're probably walling right where oh, there is no Mei. Okay. So then this wall isn't even that necessary for the rotation. But normally you would put this wall to block off the Mei LOS on the side of the Dragons. You might be stupid, but that wall looks delicious. I don't think that wall looks delicious. I've seen some pink walls though from the Spark. Those look delicious. But I think if the Orion is that close, and they have no Mei, you actually can just run over the Ryan. Hello, Landfish. Like, normally Ryan would be playing like over here, right? Because he doesn't want to get ran over. But if you can put the wall behind him as such, and there's no Mei to help him out, then I feel like you could just go for him, you know? The enemy team has no speed to get him out, that kind of stuff. So this could have probably gotten punished by the dragons or by the soul, but they're a little too set on their plan to make this rotation happen, which is a good plan, right? But since Fearless is doing some crazy stuff, maybe you should be able to punish him. Anyway, Fitz gets caught on rotation. You're gonna go heal up. But Dosin gets a big chart on his nano boost. But Dosin now also gets picked. So it's going from bad to worse here for Soul. Gesture's gonna get out. Yeah, and Fearless is already up to 80%, and Fled is already up to 60%. And only Bedosin's like pretty high ult charge on the side of the Dynasty. Was that wall primarily for stopping the McCree LOS? See, I don't understand this wall too much. I think this is a practiced wall where they wall in to block the enemy Mei LOS, right? So they can't get walled themselves. But there is no Mei on the dragons. So if you'd want to wall the Rhine swings, this could be the wall you want to do. But last time, the Rhine was just able to swing through here, and now the same is going to happen. So maybe it is just to stop the nade and the Kree shooting coming in. But I'm not too big a fan of this wall. And Marvel is that, or fucking, who is this? Void is actually going to body block the dragons here. Void does get naded. Or body block the soul here. He does get forced out. But this time the rotation's a lot cleaner. Interesting body block here from Void, actually. I like that. But Dosin has the nano boost, but Fearless also has the shatter. And again, they're just kind of regenning in here. And they're still going to have to make a very aggressive play, right? Either they have to rotate to point and set up on point, or they have to speed out of here and go on somebody. Oh, they actually go back main. And they put a wall right here. What? I am so confused as to what the Seoul Dynasty are doing currently. So they make the rotation inside. They go for it twice. Then they're like, hey, we think Fearless is still like out here. Let's just go on him. Then they kind of waste wall right here. And wall is a massive cooldown, right? If you wall the enemy right and you speed on him, he doesn't escape very easily, especially without speed boost. So this wall is a pretty big deal because it has a 13-second cooldown now. They nano boost Fitz. So I guess their plan is to go on the Pharaoh Mercy with the nano boosted McCree. He does kill Lee Jaegon. Gets shattered. Nice shatter. Oh, Fearless actually huge shatter. So they nano Fitz here, which normally if you want to go on Pharaoh Mercy, I would nano the Diva. And then Fearless comes in with the biggest shatter ever. And this is because Gesture is kind of away from his team. There's this gap created because his team's just in front of him. And Fearless is able to shatter 3 people. Gesture ends up dying. And then Fitz does end up killing Lee Jaegon, but that shatter really opens this up. Leda ends up dying, but at this point, probably a 1 fight for the dragons. And just that Fearless shatter, I don't think they expected him to have that, or maybe they did, but Getting those free people really fucked that fight. And I don't like how Prophet used this wall there. Like, walling this had no practical use. If he'd been able to, like, wall that shatter, for example, which is very hard to do, but would have been a lot better. Dragon's still insane on the defense here. They've got a bunch of ults still. They only use the shatter. Oh, the wrong thing. They only use the shatter and the Pharah ult here. And they still have so many ults, right? They have the nano boost for the Reinhardt. They have Mercy ult. Prophet almost has the Mail, which could be very big. And they almost have the Lucio ult. But they're nowhere close on a lot of these other ults. Fleta getting poked out. Fearless comes in, big swings. Again, he can be this aggressive because they have that nano boost up. He's even anti-naded. And anti-nade actually stops the healing from the Ana nano boost. So Izayaki kind of has to wait until this runs out. He does also get frozen. Oh, and he actually dies before they can even give him the nano boost because I think Izayaki's walled off. And this is that strength of that Mei. Maybe Izayaki could have rotated around this in time. Maybe not. Actually, big nade from him too. But yeah, wall just doesn't drop. Oh, Lee Jae-gon goes for a res. Wait, he's able to get it so easily because the Dynasty is so low. Marvel actually loses his mech too. And I think this is where a great diva would have maybe made the difference for Seoul, right? Marvel is that main tank diva. Maybe he doesn't want to be playing that character right now. But he has to because there's a fair on the enemy team. Like, I feel like he does a good job here. I feel like you want to fly on this Fair Mercy and like take their attention away. He's shooting Fearless, but his team is going to get rocketed so hard by this Fair from Fleta. I think this is where you kind of fly up and go to deal with the Fair. Thank you for the follow, Mr. Gibson. Yeah, and then he flies up now. But the Dynasty tanks are already very, very low. And then he goes, but then he gets focused by the Kree and gets high noon as well. So nice res there. I'm surprised all of the Seoul backed out. And Prophet obviously did not want his team to back out because he's now stuck. Okay. So Seoul now only have a minute left. They have a bunch of ults now though. They have the beat, the nano. Right, oftentimes you'll want to nano the diva specifically. Wait, I'm looking at the diva specifically. Marvel over here to deal with the Fair Mercy while your team runs over the Reinhardt. But Dynasty has been trying to make these convoluted rotations work, while Fearless is just close and doing a lot on them. So especially without the nano boost now, I would like to see Seoul. If Fearless is close, obviously. If he's far away like here, there's no point running all that way. But just wall him and speed on him and nano boost your Reinhardt or Diva to go on the Fair Mercy and just go. Okay, so Fearless is playing a little further back maybe now. They wall off Fearless and then they decide to go for the Fair Mercy. But I think if you want to go for the Fair Mercy, it's better to nano boost the Diva than it is the Kree, because Kree can shoot Fair Mercy, right? Even one-shot headshot them. But if Fair Mercy plays LOS, Kree can never get to them. Well, Diva should have an easy time flying to them in my head, right? Well, Kree can still shoot them. Big nade, actually. Holy crap, from Izayaki. He nades 5. Specifically, Bedosin is 1 HP right now. Marvel, instead of flying onto Fleta, which I think is their target right now, flies onto Lip. Shatter comes in for Fearless, misses. Fitz does end up killing Fleta, so nice job there. Their plan kind of worked out. They also beat, though. Marvel is now stuck. He's going to die. Lee Jae Gon ends up dying to Fitz as well, who kind of predicts the res, and I'm not sure why Lee Jae Gon flew in so quickly. Maybe he could have hid until the nano boost was over. I guess Fitz was hunting him to stop the res from happening. So nice job by Fitz. Just hunt that Mercy. Dink him. Isn't Marvel a main tank player? He was, or is, but now he's playing the off-tank role for Dynasty because he is one of the best Sigmas in the league. His Sigma is incredibly good. And so is his Orisa, right? So if he can learn Diva, then he'd be an insane off-tank too, which is what the Dynasty need more, because they obviously have Gesture for main tank now. But his Diva hasn't been too good so far, which is rough. They do end up capping the point. Their plan of nano boosting Fitz works out. He is definitely stepped into that carry role for the Dynasty, and they're putting a lot of resources into him. Now, interestingly enough, the Dragons swap over to the Brigette, and I think Brig is good, right? If you don't have to kite back, so they're obviously looking to just hold strong, and Lee Jae Gon is incredibly good at Brig. But if the enemy team does good rotations and can like speed shatter you and stuff, then it's rough, right? Lucio does give some sort of advantage in the Rhine v Rhine because you have that speed advantage. But it should empower Lip to do more with the armor packs. Is kind of the thought process here. Okay. Keep going. The Dynasty are going to use their speed boost, right, with the Lucio to kind of make this rotation a point. I think this is actually very good from them because they're forcing the Dragons to have to drop into them. What do you think of Gesture so far? I think he's doing well, unlike what the Redder did. I think Gesture is good. It's just that on a lot of these maps, I feel like the Dragons are having a little bit better Maywalls and a lot more shield pressure onto Gesture, which is why Fearless is able to do a lot to him. But oftentimes, when Reinhardts fail, it's more of a team issue than an individual player issue. Why would he wall with the High Noon? I don't think this High Noon was meant to kill anybody, right? It was just meant to create space. So they just popped it, are making this rotation, and they're also walling to make this rotation, I imagine. Not sure if they should use both. But when did they wall exactly? Yeah, they High Noon, they wall. Maybe they didn't need the wall here. Well, if it's still High Nooning, it's just a zoning High Noon, right? Fearless has to drop because they have to contest point. Dynasty's already gotten a tick, so this rotation from Dynasty was great. Love that, especially because the dragons have swapped off that Lucio, so their rotation aren't as fast anymore. Fearless has not dropped. He should be the obvious target here for the Dynasty. Oh, Gesture gets slept. Oh no, Gesture gets slept and the bomb's coming in. Oh, but Prophet blocks it for Gesture. That's 5-head brain stuff right there. Yeah, that was really good from Prophet. Fit still ends up dying to it. Shatter comes in from Gesture 2. So this has actually been pretty good here for Seoul, but without your Kree there, it's very hard to still win that fight. But that was so smart from Prophet. Wow. That's some 5-head stuff right there. That's some Kasora's brain. How does Fitz end up dying to the Diva Bomb? He's already used this roll somehow, and then he gets stunned into it. He's trying to dodge. Nice stun and boo from Lee Jae-gon. Yeah, Gesture gets saved. Nice stun and boo from Lee Jae-gon. But once you start losing one, especially on 2CP, these trades aren't good. And Marvel actually ends up dying to Void. Maybe Marvel's able to live here while Diva bombing. Oh, he ints onto lip. He gets frozen. Dies. Diva bombs. I think that's a little too much. Like if the Kree was there alone, then that's a good fly, you know, from Marvel. But because there was still the Mei anti-Diva around him, he kind of went too deep. And then the Shadow comes out from Gesture, the High Noon comes out. Dragons clean up, but that was a good push from Dynasty. They got those 2 ticks. But yeah, maybe if they had saved the wall early on in that push and Marvel hadn't gone that deep onto Lip, Fleta, I think Void was there too, that would have been much better. Now Void swapping over to the Sigma. And this is actually a pretty damn good Sigma point because high grounds are so important. And Sigma can like kind of create this off angle high ground for your McCree. Where you play 4 people up top here. You play the Sigma and the Kree on X location. And then the enemy team kind of has to push the high ground. And there's always a Mei wall here. And the Kree can still shoot the high ground. And the Sigma just walks forward and starts shooting the enemy team. So the Sigma is especially good on this point. Because you go straight to point. Sigma drops behind you. Ryan drops the touch point, you know. He gets an off angle. And you go high ground, Sigma also gets the off angle, right? So very, very good pick, especially on this map. I'm surprised Marvel doesn't also swap over to the Sigma on the second point on attack, since he wanted to play it on that first point, but then got countered by the fair. Okay, so as I said, right, they're going to go for this high ground because the Sigma is on the off angle here. It's actually pretty smart, the Kree starting up top, because he can always go and drop over there. They nano boost both Reinhardts. The wall comes out here for Prophet, but it's actually not a good wall since he doesn't wall off the Mei, which is hard to do, right? But if he's able to put the wall more here, where I'm drawing, then this would be a fight-winning wall because they would all be able to go out. But now Fleta can still just wall the high ground here. This is going to be a pretty hard fight to win. Oh, Fleta actually gets stunned, so he can't wall. Oh, he does wall, but it's inside. Wait, what? I am confused. Fleta. Oh, he walls, but it's not a good wall since it doesn't wall anyone off. I mean, it's still an okay wall, right? But if he was able to wall off the supports here from the Seoul Dynasty, that would have been better in my opinion. Anyway, they still get Marvel or get Fitz on their walkout. Gesture also gets a great fire strike on the walled people, right? So there was sense in trapping Bedosin and Toby there. And all these trades, like even though Lee Jae-gon dies, he has such close spawns because it's the 2 CP second point. This is completely worth. And yeah, Soul only had to use the nano boost there. Or Dragons only had to use the nano boost there. Marvel's now swapping over to the Sigma, which he could have done a little earlier, but swapping over now is fine, right? So what you have to do is either you have to hit hard on the high ground here and wall off the enemy Mei so she can't wall you off, or you have to int hard on the enemy Sigma here and shoot him out, right? You can't just sit in between because then both sides will kind of spam you. But spamming out the Sigma here I think is a very good plan. Quick question, do you think Echo will be played a lot when she's unbanned? I think so, yeah. I think Echo is really strong because she has the execute ability. Fearless drops to go and help Void. This is smart because if they just allow Void to get ran over, that's very bad. They also mailed in. Oh, it's eaten by Marvel. So Marvel showing why he's in on that Sigma. Eating Fleta's ult. Really nice job by him. And Fleta then gets stunned, doesn't end up dying. Fearless shatters, but misses this time. Oh, actually he hits Prophet. That's really big. The wall comes out too. Prophet dies. So what ends up being a great fight start there from Soul. Prophet gets shattered again by Fearless, who hits every shatter this match, I guess. And the trades start happening again, but again, trades are in favor of Shanghai Dragons. So nice eat there on the mail from Fleta. And then Fearless clutches up for his team. They trade, but those trades are good. But Dosen's also swapped over to the Baptiste here to get that extra spam. But yeah, nice job from Dragons to hold that aggressively, right? Because now they actually have a lot less spam than the Dynasty do, right? If the Dynasty just get to spam their shield, they have that Baptiste damage, who does almost as much DPS as Soldier, right? And that Sigma damage. So if they're just able to shoot Void shield from range, Void's going to have to drop because there's no cover up here. That's kind of why the Dragons are engaging so quickly. Okay. Seoul Dynasty walks in through main this time. I get that, right? They're again walling the high ground here. They just want to get to point, abuse that Lucio speed. But Dragons just have a bunch of ultimates up where they can just Sigma ult them and then nano boost the Reinhardt, that kind of stuff. So this fight looks pretty hopeless here for Soul. Fitz instantly dies. Prophet gets slept so he can't even shift. Wow, that sleep was insane from Mizuyaki. Wait. Nice sleep there. Holy crap. Onto Prophet then can't shift and then he just dies. Marvel's also going to end up dying. And then it's panic touching again, right, for Seoul Dynasty. They did get 2 ticks, but they're not going to end up camp at this point. So good spotting of the win conditions from the Dragons. And I feel like especially first point, Seoul just looked kind of messy, right? They only had this one play where they nanoed Fitz, and he kind of cleaned up. And that saved it for them. But I feel like they just had a plan going in and didn't really adapt their plan based on the enemy positioning. Right, if Fearless is that close and he's swinging into your team and you have the Mei, I think you should go on him. And then send your Diva after the Pharah, so she can't be shooting you. She has to shoot the Diva, right? Okay, but from what I've heard, this attack is going to be the 4th fastest attack on Hanamura in the Overwatch League ever. So let's see how the Dragons crush the Seoul Dynasty here. Seoul playing the preferred comp, right? They want Marvel on the Sigma, and I guess they want Bedosin on the Baptiste to have a lot of shield spam. Dragons are playing the Symmetra comp. And what I've always said about Symmetra is if you know exactly how to play against her, she doesn't get as much work done. But if you're not perfect, she will snowball the shit out of you, right? Because her ultimate is insane on the second point Hanamura. So if you can farm it on the first point and then snowball second point with it, that's crazy. Okay, so the wall comes out here for the Dragons. They all TP to point. That's kind of what you want to do, right? You want to wall off the enemy Mei with the Symmetra. Put your TP so it can't get walled up or off. And then TP to a place. Either TP here, point in this situation. Right? And there's no Diva to kind of boop you, right? Where normally the Diva would like play close and you start taking that TP, Diva comes in to boop. Maybe Toby could have done it, but I don't think Seoul was too ready for this Symmetra strat here from Dragons. Fitz does get a great stun here onto the Dragons as they come out of the TP. But he does end up dying for it. So, oof. Dragons set up on point. They're able to spam now, right? They're going to start getting that Symmetra beam charged up on enemy shields. So yeah, not a good answer there from Dynasty, who really only had Fitz in position to deal with that TP play. He kind of rushed it, then got killed. And now Symmetra is a snowball character, right? Once she gets that high beamed rolling, she just rolls over your team. It's so satisfying to watch the microwave go to work. Oh, and then Seoul is also going to... Okay, they do die on point. Good job by Toby to kind of touch there. Oh, fuck. The fucking lips already going, dude. He's like, guys, I'm already gonna put up the TP. Let's go. Fitz is like, nah, bro. I'm here. I'm waiting for you. So Fitz big braining here. They are gonna go through Mei now. And they don't have a significant ult advantage though. See, what's big here is that Lee Jae-gon, again, so clean on the Brigade, has been able to fully charge his ultimate. And I think Rally is a crazy ultimate. Like, giving everybody that 100 armor and speed boost is like insane. And then they also have the Shatter again. But they don't have the Symmetra ult, which is one of the biggest snowball ultimates, right? Still have the Rally though, which kind of gives that Lucio speed boost and super tankiness all in one. And interestingly enough, they're going to go for a split where they're going to go 4 people TP to point, and then Void and Fleta are going to go high ground. Wow. That's ballsy. But if you can get that high ground with your Sigma, that's very, very big. Wait, Rally gives speed boost? Yes, Rally gives speed boost. And then Void is able to kill Fitz right up top. Because of that rotation, Izayaki also jumps through the window. So they kind of have a three-pronged attack for the dragons here. This is some 5-head stuff, guys. They have fucking Fleta and Void go up to the high ground here. They have Izayaki jump up, put down the brig, and they have the TP to point with Lee Jae-gon ulting on the point. So there's 3 things people look at, which is crazy. Marvel drops from high ground. Not entirely sure why, because maybe he could have fought Izayaki over here. And then Fleta and Void come from the flank. They rock Fitz, instantly kill him. And now Seoul Dynasty doesn't know what they have to do anymore. Oh wow, that was such a clean attack from Shanghai. Their timing on all those free pieces was impeccable. That's crazy. And now they have ult advantage too. They use everything on the point. Shanghai has nothing, right? They're using a bunch of ults before the Seoul Dynasty can even use anything. And that was incredibly clean here from Shanghai Dragons, who are also able to get that Symmetra ult up that last 20 seconds. Yeah, wow, that was absolutely crazy. Like, this TP to point from the main stack here of the Shanghai Dragons, right, is going to take all the attention, because what usually happens when people play Sim, you just 6-stack, especially if you also have the Brig ultimate. You get that armor on everybody. So normally teams would just take that TP, go to point, Brig ult, and kind of just sit there, and then maybe get that Symmetra ult too, right? But smartly here from the Dragons, they know if they do that, they're just going to lose their shield, and then the Dynasty are going to drop on them. So they use the Reinhardt Sim here kind of as a bait. A massive bait. Marvel's over here. I think if Marvel sees Izayaki here, and he goes for the duel instead of rocking the high ground here, that would have been a lot better. But let's see exactly why he drops. I'm not sure why he drops. I think Marvel assumes, right, and everybody assumes this on the Seoul Dynasty, is that they're all 6 going to TP the point. So he's just going to walk the point so he's in effective range, right, to shoot the point. If he is all the way over here, he only has this kind of range. So he's not in range. So that's why he drops. But little did he know, Izayaki jumps up right as he drops. Izayaki's going to ult. Solo. Spam out Prophet. Bait the wall. So actually good wall from Prophet there. Eliminates Izayaki. But as that happens, Void and Fleta walk out as well. But yeah, beautiful three-pronged attack there from the Seoul Dynasty, or from the Shanghai Dragons. And then what can you even do against that? Being Seoul, you know, they had 0 ults going into that, and they now finally have the Baptista ultimate. But when he gets that, everybody's already everywhere. But Dosin's dropping. Fleta, Void are finally down. Fitz is already dead, right? And Gesture's already getting beat up on. Yeah, really great attack there from the Shanghai Dragons. Wow. And yeah, then they just clean up the point. Cap the point here. Prophet's going to drop, but it's not going to matter. 6 snowball. Okay, so let's get started with map 3 here. We have again got the dragons on the Pharah to kind of force Marvel onto that D.Va, which he hasn't looked too comfortable on so far. Fleta's also looked very good on the Pharah, and again, it's only two. Let's say they go to a point of this map where Pharah's bad, right? Pharah's pretty good on first point this map, because if you look at all the aerial high ground, this is good for Pharah, this is good for Pharah, this is good for Pharah, right? This is great for Pharah. There's some more places that are pretty good for Pharah, like back here, right? So all these places are great for Pharah on this first point. You've got all these aerial high ground, right? And what you kind of want to do as Pharah is like shoot, go behind cover, shoot, go behind cover, shoot, go behind cover, right? And be annoying, especially against the Kree, which Dynasty has been playing. On second point, there's also this high ground cover, right? And you can play around as Pharah. So even on second point, Pharah is pretty good. After that, however, Pharah starts slacking off pretty bad. This is not that great of a high ground to play around. Can't play above this, right? Over here, there's nothing. So after second point, Pharah starts being pretty bad. That's when you want to swap off. And if you look at the Dragons comp, this is actually very interesting, right? They're only 2 swaps off the meta comp. Fleta needs to swap over to Mei, and Lee Jae-gon needs to swap over to Lucio. And then they've got the full meta composition that almost every team is playing, right? So it's not like they have to full swap a comp to like get onto the Lucio, Mei, Kree, Ryan, D.Va, right? So their comp is definitely set up for swaps, which is very smart. And then we've got the Seoul Dynasty comp, which is pretty good into the Pharah comp, right? Especially if they can go and grab this high ground over here. But Marvel again doesn't want to play D.Va. He would rather play Sigma, in my eyes. So the Pharah is kind of to swap him over to that D.Va maybe. And again, they're swapping onto the Sigma at the start. They're going to go and swap because of the Pharah. And yeah, they're probably going to push up the cart over here. Fearless might drop. If he doesn't drop, they can make the rotation into the open. Okay, they're going to have to get this guy to drop. Okay, they're rotating before you... So what I saw Atlanta do yesterday, and I thought this was really good, is that because Sato stayed up top for really long, they just sped boost and took this side of the point, so they could push the cart and force the rotation from Fearless to like have to drop over here, right, or drop inside of the middle of the team. And I think that's really good. And I think if the Rhine overstays on the high ground, that is a good play you can do as the attacking team. Fearless now doesn't drop, however. And Alip is also playing mega aggressive. He already forces Prophet's shift ability. And yeah, they're just kind of waiting. Marvel's going to go push the cart, which he should. The wall comes out here from Prophet. But again, this is not a great wall. And these walls against this fair Kree comp from Prophet haven't been good in my opinion. Because what does this wall really do? If Fleta's over here taking this angle, he can just move over to this angle, right? And play above here, which is what he's doing right now. So not too big of a fan for these walls from Prophet. You'd rather use the wall on the enemy Reinhardt or the enemy backline in my opinion. Jester's going to get spammed even while Marvel's there. Marvel's not able to eat the fire strike. They do actually get a big chunk onto Lee Jae-gon. He flies out. Okay, Jester's going to get to push the cart here. What is happening? Fitz and somebody else just went on an adventure. Let's watch that. Okay, so Fitz and Toby are deciding to take an angle here. But the thing is, Void is on Diva, and he's going to have a pretty good time contesting this McCree, actually. So yeah, as you can see, Void's going super aggro. Marvel's helping Fitz right now, which is good, right? And then Fleta ends up killing Fitz. So they're trying to make this rotation happen. But I feel like if you want to do this rotation, you'd play the Sigma with the McCree, right? Because a Lucio and a Kree aren't just going to go and kill a Diva straight up. So you see what happens here is the Diva kind of, pokes Fitz out. And then Fleta actually finishes him off. So yeah. Well, nice rocket 1, nice rocket 2. Lip also, or Bedosin also dies. Lip ends up dying in return, but no big deal. And again, I feel like Shanghai just wins every first fight. And that's such a big deal because if you look at the ults now, right? It's just such a big advantage here for the Dragons. They have the Nano Boost almost. They almost have the Valkyrie. They have the Shatter. They have the Diva Bomb. They have the Creel. They have the Feral. They have a full stack of ults. While if you look at the Dynasty, they only have the Nano Boost, which is great, right? Especially because they've been using it onto Fitz, and he kind of carries that team right now, at least. And they have Prophet. But it just feels like it snowballs so hard if you just win that first fight a lot of the time. On one hand, though, Dynasty did get a bunch of card push. So good job on them. Marvel goes to contest Void. Oh my god, that's disgusting. So they Nano Boost Gesture. They go onto Fearless, right? And this is the strength of the Soul comp. They win this kind of really close range fight because they have that Mei to wall off the Reinhardt. But Fearless, something has possessed him this match. And he ends up shattering the entirety of the Seoul Dynasty team. And that is actually, I think, a Shatter Gesture could have blocked. Because he wasn't Fire Strike. Oh, maybe he had no shield left? No, he did have shield. Gesture just manhandles him. Or Fearless just manhandles Gesture. Nice job by Fearless. And that kind of stops the entire... Like, they only need Nano Boost at this point. Nano Boost Fearless. Fitz ends up dying. Wow. They also get to sleep on the Gesture. Great Shatter from Fearless. Just wins that fight straight up for the Dynasty. I feel like, again, Seoul need to create some steps, though, before they go for this whole play. They should take this high ground first, in my opinion, to get the space. Because this high ground has great sightlines for Fitz, right? It forces the Fair Mercy back very far. Right, all the way back there, probably, because this is the next piece of aerial high ground that the Fair Mercy really wants to use. And then from the high ground, they can decide what to do, right? Do they just want to drop and push card? Or do they want to int on the enemy team's Reinhardt? That kind of stuff. So they are going to go for the high ground now, which is the play, in my opinion. There's a lot of shield spam coming out currently from the Dragons. They decide to drop the point, which this is a hard spot to push Fearless and Void on, right? Hard to int into them there. Fearless drops, so this would be the time where I would say, hey, go on this guy, you know. Especially because you have that mail. Prophet actually walls up. He goes for freezes onto Void. Nice rocket from Fleta onto him. He gets the freeze. He goes for the mail. Freezes Void again. So that was nice from Prophet actually. To make sure he could get that mailed off for free. And he focuses out Void very, very hard. Fitz, meanwhile, also ends up killing Fleta. So Seoul kind of went through the steps this time, right? They took the high ground. They know they have pretty effective ults. Fleta actually goes for the ult onto Toby. Doesn't kill him though because it's hard to hit Lucio midair with Barrage. Now Lee Jae-gon might go for the res. Oh, and Fitz kind of leaves the body there. And Lee Jae-gon's gonna go res. I think that is an error. I think if you just kind of cover that body for that 9 seconds, that the Mercy like can res that body better. Fitz does end up killing more people though. Is he gonna go and kill the Pharah again? Oh, Lee Jae-gon still alive. Lip kills Marvel. Wait, how does Marvel die here? Wait a second. He's low HP. And then he goes to eat the Kree ultimate. But he doesn't have enough Matrix. And then he dies. Fair enough, fair enough. Oh, Fearless shatters. Misses this time. Can't hit them all. Gesture had us numbered on this one. Fleta and Lee Jae-gon are in the backline, however. Beat comes out. Beat doesn't hit Fitz and Prophet. That was not a great beat from Toby, who misses Fitz, Prophet, and Marvel is already dead. Kind of an error on Toby and Soul's part there. And then Fearless. Wait, it was Gesture Shatter earlier that missed. Fearless doesn't miss. The man's a mad lad. Dude, he just 180 swung that into Gesture. Oh my god, he just manhandles Gesture again. This is disgusting right now. And he blocks the stun too from Fitz. Wow. Fearless having the game of his life right now. He's naded, he gets nano though. Nano doesn't heal while you're anti-naded. So he's probably going to die here, yes. Really nice nade from Dose in there. But Fleta's been shooting stuff in the back line here the whole time. And this is disgusting. Fearless is setting up a performance that... Jesus. I would like to see the shatter hits on Fearless's part and the shatter hits on Gesture's part. Okay, now Dynasty again, they have to swap to this Hammond. They have to swap to stall picks. Not sure why we're swapping off the Lucio for the Baptiste, but fair enough. Toby's tilting. That's why. Bomb comes out from Marvel. Oh, they actually get Void's Mecha that somehow because of the gesture boot. But at the end of the day, there's no shield right now for Dynasty. And they're down. So if the Dragons just have a clean up here, they should be able to win this fight. Gesture doesn't do the double boop tech. Gets slept too. Oh, Izayaki cleans up Gesture was slept. And then, yeah, it's just going to be cleanup here for the Dragons, who had a great first point defense here. And especially Fearless, hitting all those big shatters onto Gesture. Set that up for his team. Okay. So, yeah, where were we? The Dragons just seem really methodical. They're like, their rotations seem really strong. And sometimes Dynasty just doesn't take the best steps, especially against these Pharah comps. For example, there on Hanamura first, they didn't do it. And now on Rialto again, they don't do it every time. And the times they did take the like good steps, like they take the high ground, they get the space. Shanghai Dragons members end up clutching up. Like Fearless got that 5-man shatter when the Dynasty actually had a great setup to kill him. That kind of stuff. But yeah, good match so far. And the Dragons are just simply outplaying the Seoul Dynasty individually and strategy-wise. And having to put Marvel onto Diva, I feel like hurts the Seoul Dynasty a lot. Marvel's a great Sigma, but he's not as good at Diva, and I feel like he's not putting the pressure onto Fleta like he should. Because Diva is like the biggest counter to Pharah in my opinion. Okay, but now the Seoul Dynasty get to play their preferred comp. They get to play the Sigma Baptiste, which is what they've been wanting to play and what they've played on these defenses. Dragons, however, pulling out from the Dragons trick book, pulling out the dive composition with the Pharah and the Sombra. This comp's specifically good on first points like this, but very bad on second points, right? This is a bad point on second point Rialto because there's no aerial cover for the Pharah, and you'll have to full swap off the composition. Now, luckily here for Dragons, they full held first point, so it's not going to get to that phase where the comp is bad in my opinion. And especially the EMP can create for, just capping points off of ults. So EMP, Barrage, Nano, right, are very good combos to win fights with. And normally you don't want to spend that many ults to win these fights, but since they only need to win 1 or 2 fights here, very good comp for the Dragons. And especially because there's, again, no Diva on the Dynasty side. The Pharah is going to get free reign. Oh, Fleta instantly kills Fitz. They're tilted. Oh, Fitz gets poked out by the Sombra, by Lip, I think. Lip takes the high ground over here, and then he gets finished off by Fleta. And actually, Dynasty's playing the double flex support here with the Baptiste and the Ana. And I don't think that's that great because then they can't engage on the enemy team that well. Oh, Marvel's gonna get engaged on here on the high ground. And yeah, at this point it's all falling apart for Seoul Dynasty. Fitz instantly dying. Prophet does farm a bunch of ult charge. He's going to make this only go for 1 fight here. For Dynasty, they have the nano boost on the side of the Dragons, which they can easily use on the Winston or the Pharah. Maybe they should just use it on the Pharah, but this match seemed very well studied for the Dragons, and they knew exactly how to take the steps and win against the Seoul Dynasty, I think. Also, Dynasty just played what they're good at. I feel like the Dragons were more prepared. Prophet gets insta-killed, so they're boomed. Seoul Dynasty is boomed. Yeah, Prophet's over here. I guess Lip goes for the hack. Yeah, Prophet gets hacked. And then Prophet's just going to go and die. They nano boost the Winston. Oh, nice sleep there actually from Badosin. I don't think you want to use this bubble here as Fearless, because you want to use that bubble as you jump the Ana, so that you can kind of juggle and the bubble and dodge her sleep. Void boops, gesture. They're trying to make them C9. Fleta ends up dying to Fitz though. Nice pick by him. Thank you for the follow, Knassen. Huge. Oh, nice shots there from Fitz. You take out Fleta. And yeah, because of that pick, and because this Dragon comps is very fair focused, I feel like Seoul can still win this fight because how close their spawns are, right? If you look at the spawns for Seoul, it's right here. Like a 5-second walk. While the spawns for the Dragons, I have to zoom out all the way, you know, it's all the way over here. Oh, Fearless is going to get naded. So he's probably going to die. The Seoul are going to hold here for a little bit. But looking at the timer, it's not going to be long. Fitz abusing that flank. Is going to die to the Battle Mercy of Legion. Gone. Lip now has, like, this is what I was talking about, right? How this fair comp doesn't snowball very well to second, but it's great on this first point, especially because you can get ults like the EMP barrage combo, right? Is why it's really good if you only have to cap a first point like this. Oh, the EMP comes in onto the entire backline of the Seoul Dynasty. Let's watch that again because I was watching the wrong part of the screen. The Kisora's classic. Flip. Is going to go ahead and EMP the backline, yeah. Fearless jumps in with that. And this is why they're kind of picking the Sombra, right? Because this is actually a really hard point of the map to engage on. But because everybody's now EMP'd, Fearless, Fleta are probably going to go for like Bubble plus Barrage. The Bubble can cover the Pharaoh's barraging. Fearless is actually booping people out of the fire barrage. So maybe not the best synergy there, but also nice matrix coming in from Void to keep Fleta alive. That should clean it up for Dragons. Seoul Dynasty does still have a lot of ults. They nano boost gesture. They also mailed the point. So they have a lot of stall here. Shatter comes out onto Void too. Oh, nice angle here from Fleta. And yeah. Dragons is going to clean us up because of that nice proactive EMP. And I really feel like this match was dictated by a good preparation from the Shanghai Dragons, knowing the win conditions in their compositions, and also having really good rotations. Thank you for the follow, Mr. B-Boy. But for the people watching on YouTube, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next